welcome back to the dual wield or jar-kai spinning tutorial series. Last time around we dealt with the following clock face, and the following or flower version of the Obiani spin. Okay, putting those two things together, we're able to do a following version of a plum flower. Now, just as a recap, a plum flower is a figure 8 on this side, begins with a figure 8 on this side, and Obiani transition into an upward figure 8, and then back over. So a plum flower, and you notice as the plum flower repeats, we skip this front beat from the figure 8 on the downward wield, and we go straight into the back beat and the Obiani for a 5-beat flower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so that's the plum flower. What we're going to be doing is putting two plum flowers together with both hands and making a following plum flower. Just like with the Obiani, if this hand, the right hand, is doing a standard Obiani or a standard plum flower, this hand, the inverse, or the opposite hand, the left hand, is going to need to do an inverse plum flower. And just to remember what that looked like, if this is the inverse Obiani, this is the inverse plum flower. Motion just removed, or just reversed rather, 5 beats. Off of this inverse Obiani, it comes over the head and comes to the other side to a downwards wield. Alright, to put these two things together, to keep them out of the way, there's going to be a couple of modifications to the plum flower that we're going to have to be aware of that makes it work with the flowers. This hand, instead of being able to do both beats over here, this upwards figure 8, we're going to have to simplify that. We're going to have to do it while we transition back. Now let me clarify what I mean by that. Okay, basically what I'm doing is off of this Obiani, I'm going to hit one upward beat, and then the next one I'm going to have to whip the arm around like this. Now you notice I'm holding the blade between my index and my thumb here. Okay. Obiani, whip. Just to show you in slow motion. And then we go back in, and then we're going to make a circle in the front here to start the flower, because we're going to need to for the flowers. So, Obiani, whip, front circle. This is the variation of the plum flower that we're going to need in order to do a following plum flower. And you notice that most of the motion is going to be over here on my right. I've got 1, 2, 3 beats, and one full beat over here, and 1 beat that takes place in the transition. So we're still doing 5 beats. I'm just sort of stretching that last beat and incorporating it into the transition, whereas in the standard plum flower, I would just move my arm over my head. It's not really a beat, it's more of a drag over the top. I'm going to be moving or sort of whipping the blade while I do that. Alright, so that's what this hand is going to be doing. This hand with the inverse plum flower, which usually looks like this. Usually we have this over the head sort of reach. I'm going to have to simplify that as well. And instead of going over the head, I'm going to be coming down through the middle, chopping like that, going into another flower over here. Okay, so these are the parts. Let's see. This one's actually a lot less modified than the right hand, because it's just instead of doing that, we're doing that. More of a baseball swing. Alright, so when we put this together, what I'm going to have here is I'm going to have I'm going to start off with a flower on this side, and then if you notice in my regular plum flower, I've got a beat up here, and then I've got a beat back here. Then I have that third beat where I pull it up from the back. Alright, so my beat up here is a flower here. So flower up front, flower in the back, and when this one goes to do the obiene, this blade's going to have to come over here and also do the inverse obiene. It's a little bit tricky. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take quite a fair bit of work to get this to work out for you. But let me show it to you first. Okay, that's what the following plum flowers is going to eventually look like. And you notice my right hand doing that whip right there. And you notice my left hand coming down in a baseball. Okay, so this hand's doing that. Okay, this hand is doing that. And you notice that this motion here, after this backwards beat, which is on our front flower, this saber is going into that obiene. This saber is coming back for the inverse obiene. And the left saber, that baseball swing, goes straight into that flower. And there you have it, following plum flower. One of the more advanced following moves. It's going to take some coordination. It sort of puts together everything else that we've talked about up until this point. All of the following moves. It has the advanced version of the flower in it. It has the alternating following obiene. It has the clock face transition. So all of those moves sort of combine into this plum flower, and if you have that, you can add beats to the different sides of it, just like you could when we did the simultaneous plum flower. You can play around with it. You can hang out on this side for a while with the advanced flowers until you decide to throw it. And to get over here, you can hang out on this side for a while until you decide to whip back around. So play with that, integrate it into your freestyle, see if you can streamline it down into the regular plum flower spin. Try doing it once with each hand. Try doing the spin and then just stopping one hand and seeing if you can keep the other one going. Then bring it back in. See if you can stop one hand and keep the other one going. If you can develop this independence between hands, it's going to serve you very well in dual wield. It's going to help you not have the sabers collide. It's going to help you have sort of an intuitive feel on where they're going. Try stopping an arm and keeping an arm in motion and then rejoining. See if you can get that down. The next thing that we're going to be looking at, that's pretty much it for the following moves. With those components that we covered, you can freestyle pretty well anything. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is opposing. So join me back for that one next time. Until then, I'll see you in the forums.